giving this opportunity to really communicate from so many thousand miles and kilometers away from each other. I would be happy to answer any questions from the students or teachers, but what I'm going to present to you, I can share the screen. Can you, I can share the screen, my screen, Mr. Kandan? You allow me to share, right? Okay. Do you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Yes? Okay. So, so this is the title of my presentation for you today. Evolution of education from 1.0 to 4.0, and I will explain what I mean by this. And through guidelines for developing and implementing STEAME schools. And of course, I will explain what STEAME is all about. And most of the activities I'm going to show you and results and available links and material. I will give you many, many links where you can receive material, and it's free, and because it's funded by the European Commission. Huh? So these are most of the outputs that I'm going to present to you are funded by the European Commission. So they are freely available to be used. But let me start with these two photos. Here we see a photo of a classroom 100 years ago, 1921, and a classroom and a photo of a usual classroom of today. Well, what is the difference? Think about the difference. Well, the photo of today is colored. Today, maybe we see maybe some whiteboard sometimes, we see some TVs or screens in the rooms. Today, we're not allowed to see the faces of the students in the classroom because of the European so-called GDPR rules that do not allow us to show photos, I mean, the faces of students unless we have permission from their parents. But other than that, the two classrooms look very similar. So in about 100 years, we have not changed much. Do you agree? More or less, after 100 years, we still have the same classroom structure. Let's see some other photos. In 1950, this is a classroom with air conditioning, you may say, because it's a classroom open, in an open air, as we say, huh? Because there was no air conditioning in those times. If it was very warm, sometimes they had classrooms outside. Today, a very modern classroom looks like this, with air conditioning, of course, and you can see everyone has computers or tablets or whatever, digital boards, etc. So this is a very, very modern classroom in some modern schools, sometimes not public, but many times private schools. Some years ago, during my times when I was a student in the 60s, 70s, we had the first board on wheels. So that was the so-called portability in those times. We were able to move outside the classroom, go to the library, whatever, and have a lecture, a teaching process. I say teaching process because at those times we had only teaching. We didn't have much of a learning process or a learning method. Nowadays, the portability is different. There are schools where students don't take books, don't use books or notebooks or even a pen. They only use a tablet, and everything is included in that tablet, including all the books, including notes, including everything you can think of. So students in some school systems, they go to school with only their tablet. So things are changing. So when we say education 1.0, actually we more or less talk about the education of the 20th century, of the previous century, where it was most like authoritarian, as we say. That means that you could have a class, a lesson, and only the teacher speaks for all the time, let's say 45 minutes lesson, without the students saying anything. So this is not acceptable anymore in today's learning processes. So the student is the passive recipient, as we say, was the passive teacher-centered system. So the teacher gives knowledge as the absolute leader in the classroom, and the technology is forbidden and sometimes is confiscated in that system. So this is a system that most countries do not use today, even though you find these approaches in some developing countries, in some rural areas, whatever, but this should be in the past. In most countries today, even in those that have modernized schools, they still have schools running in education 2.0. And in my country, most schools are in this level. Is communication and collaboration are starting to grow. Collaboration between students, more communication between teacher and student. But this is the period, the system that we have everything exam-based. So it's exam. So the teacher teaches, the student is learning, and then at some point there is an exam to assess the knowledge or whether the knowledge is received. But the exam really can never, or very difficult, assess competence and skills. So we have education, learning, we have competence, learning of knowledge. And knowledge nowadays can be accessible easily through digital learning, like internet, for example. But competence, the ability, in other words, the ability to do things, that's what competence usually is, and the skills to be able to apply the knowledge cannot be tested by an exam, usually, or by a written exam, and also cannot be taught, because you have to develop the competence and you have to develop the skills. In Europe, more than 50% of the people are working in jobs not related to their studies, not related to the degree, to the university degree, which means the people nowadays, they may have a degree from a university, but they may end up doing different things. So it is important to have competences and skills. And different studies in Europe, when they ask the employers what they look for when they hire people, the degree, the knowledge comes number 3. Knowledge is usually proven by the degree we have. But what is number 2? Number 2 is skills. So knowledge is not enough to give you a job. You have to be able to apply knowledge. And what is number 1? Well, number 1 is communication. And to explain what do we mean? What is the difference between knowledge, competence, and communication? Think of your, you have a smartphone. Some of you have a smartphone or some phone like this, right? Yes? No, not everyone. Some. A telephone, let's say. Huh? So if you have a smartphone, if you know what this machine can do, this is called knowledge. If you know how to use it, that's competence, skill. But nobody will hire you to sell this machine unless you know how to communicate your knowledge, to explain to someone what this machine can do, and to show to someone how to operate this. So communication is to be able to communicate knowledge and competence. And this is what every teacher is trying to do in classroom every day, because they try to communicate to the students some knowledge and explain it. And of course, also you as students, sometimes you need to have good communication skills in order to explain back to your teacher your thoughts, or discuss with your classmates a mathematical problem, let's say. Maybe you solved it and they didn't solve it, and then you want to explain to them how the solution is found. So you need to have good communication skills to explain to them your thoughts, and that's not easy. Some people have difficulty on this. So let me go to the third here, an underestimated student-centered approach. So we want to have education which is student-centered, not teacher-centered. What do we mean by that? We mean that the target is for helping the student to learn, not for the teacher to give a lecture. The goal is for the learning of the student. So this is becoming more important. It should be becoming more important. And in this education 2.0, we like to say that it's a student center, but it's misled. And in many systems, we don't see this happen. The schools are still talking about hours of teaching. So when you talk about hours of teaching, then it means you don't have student-centered approach. You have teacher-centered, because the hours of teaching are for the teachers. What is student-centered? We should be talking about hours of learning. So when you go to school, it's not a teaching hour that you attend, but it should be a learning hour. Because the schools are made for you, for the students. Okay, let's go further. What else is in education 2.0? Invasion of technology and social networking. Of course, now we have technology in most countries and in most systems. They try to use it. We apply technology to the classroom as a trend indicator, but the class continues to have the same structure as we saw it 100 years afterwards. There is a complete confusion. Students know the technology is better than the teacher sometimes. No design for what is used and what is not, because there are software everywhere, and teachers try to use it, or then you try to train teachers how to use the software, and by the time they come to use it, it's becoming obsolete. So there is no good coordination. The point, as we will see later, is not really to use a specific software, but to be able to adapt to any software, to adapt to any change. And teachers need to have competences also to be able to adapt to change. I don't know if we have teachers in the audience or only students, I'm not sure, but I'm talking to both of you, to teachers and students. So many choices. There is no money for buying and applying. Uncoordinated technology correlation with the curriculum. So we have curriculum, but we don't have clear connection between curriculum and technology. The system cannot properly follow the evolution of technology. Technology is developing faster than the use of technology. There is no teacher training, there's no enough teacher training, and there is no time to train teachers. There's no time to train teachers, so the teachers have to be able to adapt by themselves. Data is everywhere. Google search faster from traditional libraries. So when I was a student in the 80s at the university, I wish I had Google at that time. There was no Google at that time. And in order to find any information we needed, we had to go to libraries, spend hours checking on books, checking the content, etc., until we find what was. So sometimes we spend 3-4 hours to find something that today we can find in 10 seconds through Google. So there is a big availability and access to data nowadays. So the web knows more than our teachers sometimes. We were not ready for COVID. See what happened? Because if we had digital technology and digital learning in place and internet, we have good speed everywhere and free, then we would have been ready for COVID all over the world. But in some areas, there was no internet, or even if there is, it's very slow, so no accessibility. So this has been a problem in many countries. Students give technical knowledge to the teachers. So this is where we stand today. Education 3.0 that we see in some areas, in some schools, in the United States, in some in Europe, in some in Japan, etc. This is a clear student-centered approach. The teacher is transforming to a coordinator or facilitator, or an advisor, or a learner in practice. So the name of teacher is eventually disappearing because the teacher has to have a different role, not to teach. He has to be a facilitator of learning. So he has to facilitate the learning of the student, not to teach, to facilitate. Because the learning process has many parameters. One of them is the teacher, the facilitator. There are many others. The student is researching now. The student gets to understand what researching also for his knowledge and for his learning. So you can discover knowledge by yourself through technology. Flipped classroom method applies. What do we mean by flipped classroom? We mean what you do in school, you do it outside the school. And what you do outside the school, you bring it into the classroom. Meaning that the learning can be done outside the school as well, anytime, any place. And what do you do in school? Well, you can apply the learning to develop the competencies and skills. And we will see some videos also later on. More dialogue. Technology is everywhere. The students is self-learning and everywhere and anytime, actually. The classical style classroom no longer exists. I will show you in a few minutes a video of a school which has no classrooms. So where are students learning? Well, we will see. Lesson plans are now called something different. We don't call them lesson plans because lessons are done by teachers. So we want the students to be learning, so we call them learning plans. So the lesson plan is changing name. Let's go to something like this. So we have classrooms like this, but in the near future, the classrooms will probably look like this. So it has to be more open space, etc., full technology, multiple projections, etc. In later in 2030, we will see open space areas with groups of students working in projects, etc. So no classrooms. The learning is done anywhere, anytime, in any environment. So what is important is to communicate to collaborate, to work on projects, to apply knowledge, and develop competences and skills. And the teacher is a facilitator, is moving around many teachers, and they facilitate the learning process of the students. So education 4.0, that actually you don't see it yet in its full parametric character in any place, maybe yet, but we're getting there, not because we want it, because technology will impose it to us. We will have no other way of living in the future but applying something like this. But be careful. We are imagining the future now with today's technology. So in 20 years from now or 30 years from now, we may see different things happening. Why? Because we don't know exactly what would be the technologies of 20 or 30 years from now. If 20 years ago, if we said we can do a presentation like we do now, with 50 people watching, I can share everything on my screen, etc., maybe people would say it's impossible. If you say to people that you'll be able to talking on the phone to your wife or to your mother and looking at her in a video while you talk to her, they would be laughing if we said this 20 or 25 years ago. But today it's a standard technology that we use. So imagine what we cannot imagine today, it may happen in 20, 25 years. So things may be much different than what we can imagine because we don't know the technologies of the future. So in Education 4.0, we talk about co-creation and innovation in the center. So the teacher is a co-creator, not a facilitator and not a teacher anymore. Whenever and wherever, flipped classroom applied, hybrid learning environments also. Hybrid meaning that the face-to-face, physical and online or by distance, etc. Interactive practical exercises, face-to-face or distance. In this way, when learning can be done through self-learning processes as well, and we would see a lot of videos prepared by teachers and facilitators in the future of different pace, etc. Let's say you want to learn a topic in mathematics, let's say the Thales theorem, and then you may have 3 videos for learning the Thales theorem. You may have a video of 10 minutes, of 30 minutes, and 60 minutes. Those students who are good in mathematics may use the 10 minutes. Those who have difficulties, they may need to use the 60 minutes video, and those who are average may use the 30 minutes video. But what is advantageous about that is that you can see the video as many times you wish. And the most difficult activity for a teacher is to really prepare 3 types of videos of 10 minutes, 30 minutes, and 60 minutes of the same topic, but different level of difficulty. So we will see many videos like this in the coming future, available in a YouTube or whatever, everywhere, anytime. So you can be watching videos for learning at any time in any place. So learning is done at home or outside school, while in school students will be developing skills, development of personalized teaching and learning, because there will be more time for teachers to facilitate those or co-creators to devote to students who have difficulties. So individualized or personalized learning will be more available. Learning plans are now called learning and creativity plans. The technology is expected or will be expected to be free and easily accessible. Increased use of virtual reality, artificial intelligence, etc. So things we cannot see in our lives, we would be able to see them through virtual reality and feel the environment of such virtual reality and experience. We may have virtual reality rooms in our schools in the future. Continuous evolution and innovation, and therefore a need for development of competences and skills so people become adaptable to change. People should become adaptable to change. And you as students and in the future as university students, as employees or whatever, you have to become adaptable to change because things will be changing around us because of technology. So we have to be able to adapt to them easily and fast. So we saw from Education 2.0, we had the lesson plans, we move into the learning plans, and then into the learning and creativity plans. A few years ago, finished in 2016, we had another project. It was called School on the Cloud. I guess you know what cloud is. Cloud is an environment where we find access to free, in most cases, software and applications. For example, Google is a cloud tool, right? And one of the results of this project, one of the many results, is that we need to establish meaningful leadership for cloud-based learning, teaching, and administration. So the schools in the future will be cloud-based in the sense that all the material, all the learning material will be on cloud. So we needed another project in order to develop the necessary competences or discover the necessary competence for teachers in order to be adaptable to change. And so then we had this project that was also funded by the European Commission that ended last October, very recently, where we developed a qualification framework for education cloud leaders. That's your teachers, your school principals, etc. We developed a training course for them, how to become adaptable to change, and a certification program. Let me show you one short 60 seconds video relating to this. I hope you'll be able to see the video. Okay, let me start playing the video. Can you listen to the video? Yes?
No, sir.
No,
No?
sir.
Will you be able to see and listen to the video?
We are able to see but not listen.
Okay, I forgot to share the sound. Okay, let me stop sharing, share again. Sorry, okay, share sound and share. So now you should be able to, hear the sound now also.
In light of today's technological evolution, teachers and school principals need to have the competence to adapt to the new technologies related to digital learning and cloud computing. This affects all facets of societal development, especially the learning of the youth and the evolution of school education systems. Introducing the L-Cloud Project, a cloud system-based training initiative that enables teachers to develop the competences and skills so they can be self-updated on the latest developments in cloud computing and tools. L-Cloud includes an international professional certification program to support a continuing professional development. Join L-Cloud, a time-efficient, comprehensive, and dynamic.
Will you be able to hear the sound now?
Yes, sir. We are able to hear.
Yeah, good. Okay. So this website here, for those interested, you can visit. Let me click on it. Yeah, okay. You can visit the website and see more information if you like. And here you can see the courses, which is the webinar, which is open and free for you and for your teachers, actually. And if your teacher wants to be certified for this, it's possible, okay? This PowerPoint that I'm using, by the way, okay, I will send it to you, to the leader here, to the coordinator, and he'll be able to share it with you, okay? Now, so all tools are moving to the cloud. So most of the tools we use today, about close to 85% of the tools used today are stored in the cloud. And of course, here, oops, one moment. For security purposes, sometimes big companies or even like banks, sometimes they don't like to store data on the cloud. So this is solved by having cloud on the premise, on your premises. So some files are stored on your server, and then you can have all other operational applications on the cloud. So the cloud, or maybe in the future, we will see a different word for this, maybe space, whatever, but it will be there. Do you recognize these words? BYOD? Anyone?
Mm-hmm.
No, sir.
No? It means bring your own device. Bring your own device. What do we mean by that? That these are different devices, and whatever device you have, you should be able to use it to learn and to use it in the classroom also. So bring your own device means this is a message from the teacher. So come to the classroom with your own device, and I would be able to help you learn from your own device. Either this is a tablet or a laptop or a smartphone or whatever. This is what we mean. So here, what do you see there? This picture has been circulated over Facebook. Smartphones and internet is eventually going everywhere. I mean, this is a place where probably they don't have internet, they don't have smartphones yet, but you know what they're doing, right? They are pretending to take a selfie photo, You know what is a selfie photo, right? If you have a smartphone, you take a photo of yourself. So these kids here are saying to us that as soon as we have internet and smartphone, this is what we would be doing. So they are even smiling to a shoe here, whatever, pretending that this is a smartphone. So some new results applied to support the education 3.0 and 4.0. This is a STEAME project. What does STEAME means? These are initials of these words. STEAME means science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics, entrepreneurship. These are the topics that you can learn in schools, but they have to be interdisciplinary in the process of learning. So, and these are the subjects that can help societies to develop faster in the future if they have students coming from secondary education who have ability, competence, and skills and knowledge on these topics. So you have to be good in science, good in technology, good in engineering, good in arts, good in mathematics, and understand entrepreneurship in the sense that whatever we create as an innovation is something that can become a product that makes the life of people better, the quality of life better, and a product that, of course, someone will pay money to have it. So we have to think in an entrepreneurial mindset, as we say. And these things are the topics that interdisciplinary can be used for the students to work in projects, using knowledge from all different subjects they learn. But instead of learning the subject and then try to connect it to other disciplines, it may be better to start with the discipline and the project question and discover the knowledge that you need in order to apply to the project. So what is needed is a model of STEAME schools, guidelines for STEAME activities in schools, guidelines for cooperation between teachers of different disciplines, new organizational structures for STEAME schools, training of teachers, help them to adapt, and a dynamic change in curricular tools and methods. So this project is trying to do most of these things. And the outputs, which we're already publishing, is the guidelines for a dynamic and adaptive STEM curriculum. And it's already published, and I have a link for you here, but I will take you to the website in a few minutes. Guidelines for STEAM activities in schools for 2 age groups. So we're separating ages 10 to 14 and 15 to 18. We have developed learning and creativity plans for this, and I will show you where to find them. And the next challenge, of course, we are working on it now, is how to change current schools so you can run STEAM activities, and how future schools should be designed in order to accept STEAM activities. So here is one of the publications that is out, but let me take you to the website. Okay, this is the project website, right? www.steame.eu. In this website, I mean, you go from home, you're here, and then of course you see the STEAME Observatory. So what is in the STEAME Observatory? We have for 2 different age groups, grades 7, 9, and grades 10 to 12, we have what we say learning and creativity plans. These are learning and creativity plans that can be used by teachers and students in order to work in projects, right? And this is based on a model and a prototype that is based on 18 steps that at least 2 teachers can work together, let's say a mathematician and a biologist, or a mathematician and an artist, whatever, to at least 2 to work together to support a group of students working in a project. So these are different project ideas where you can have many different topics. I mean, mathematics is almost everywhere, but you can have mathematics and economics, mathematics and technology, mathematics and art, etc. And you can, this is available to be used by anyone. So there are a lot of material here. There are also worksheets. In some cases, there is some PowerPoints, presentations. In some cases, most of them are in English. In some of them, we have other languages like Greek, Italian, Bulgarian. These are European languages, but all of them are in English as well. So if you can have this similar ones at the higher level. In this observatory, you can find STEAME school sites and links, so you can find access to the websites of many STEAM schools in the world. Some STEAM courses that I will mention later. There's also a journal for you, for the students. So when you work on projects and you do some development, and you can write a paper and publish it in a journal. So this is a journal for and by school students. So it's a journal devoted for you. This is information on related funded projects. See, when you click this, you can find, you click this, you can find many links to schools. Experiments on projects, not necessarily learning plans. Some STEAME events coming up. I will talk about this later on, that you may be interested, or your teachers. And STEAME infographics. Infographic is another, they are usually posters. One poster with learning information on it. Instead of reading 20 pages in a book, it's possible sometimes from a very nice infographic to get what you need from one poster, one page. Why we need this? Because there is no time for reading much. We have to be able to read less and understand more. And of course, some STEAME competitions that are available for you as well from Nepal. And you can participate from distance if you like. And if any teacher wants to submit material related to this observatory, so this observatory will be collecting a lot of material that can be shared by students and teachers. So that's the idea. The European Union is giving money to develop things that can be open and shared. So I'm closing this now, and this is accessible to you. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. So we developed this prototype of the cooperation between two teachers. So you have teacher 1 and teacher 2, and these are the 18 steps. These 18 steps can be found also in every learning plan. So you can follow the learning plan and the related resources, and you can use it in a project. There is an empty template for this learning and creativity plan if you like to use it to create your own learning plan, and it's found here. It's available in 5 languages. Here you can find the output of the one I mentioned already with the reference files. And now we're working on this future schools design for STEAM, and I will tell you more about this in a minute. Let me close this. All right. So if we go quickly through a learning and creativity plan, I thought to say a few things to you about the customized eShop. So this is how a learning and creativity plan looks like, specifying the age, how many hours you need to spend on this, some objectives, an abstract, STEAM framework, teachers cooperation, this is between an economist and a technology specialist, STEAM in life. So there is a process of bringing industry into the activity to talk to the students. So there are 3 stages to be followed, and objectives, etc., preparation and means, links to information, links to learning activities, etc., etc. So there's a lot of steps here for you to follow and available, and these are the 18 steps put in the prototype support by it. So these processes have to be done by groups of students and by at least 2 teachers supporting. That's the idea. Huh? And this will help the students develop what we say competences, skills, communication, cooperation, apply knowledge into real life, develop entrepreneurial skills, because you need to develop products sometimes. This is an example from the eShop. Why I mentioned the eShop as an example, because it's something that came useful because of the coronavirus close down. Because some students, these are the people from industry talking to the students, and here there was a real example of a student whose parents was a farmer in Greece, a farmer who produced cheese, olive oil, etc. And because of the crisis, everything closed. So the father couldn't open the shop to sell cheese and olives, etc. So their kid who was in school and was learning this, how to create marketing, online marketing, etc. The kid created an e-shop selling cheese, Greek honey, and olive oil that are produced by his father, who's a farmer, and he helped the father to sell products through internet. So this was a project in school, but it became a realistic because it was possible for the kid to help his parents continue the business after the pandemic closed down. So this is a real life example, reality. And whenever, of course, as you are students, you have to be assessed, not always by a test, an exam, but here is an evaluation rubric that teachers can use to assess your work in a project, in a STEAME project. And there are examples in the guidelines, of course, and of course, you as a student should always understand how you be assessed. So it's good for you to know the different parameters that your teachers will be looking into when they assess you on project work. So let's go now into the future schools. So in order to discover what we need to do in current schools and what we need to do in new schools, just to tell you that in Holland, in Netherlands, in Europe, it's a country in Europe, a few years ago, they experimented some STEAME schools where they had about 700 students, but only 8 classrooms. So at any time, only 1/3 of the students were in the classroom. And last year, when I asked them before the pandemic, okay, you experimented this and it was successful. So now what do you do now? Now they say they demolish walls in schools in order to make more open spaces. So things are changing. So we did a survey to 120 teachers in order to get ideas. I already showed you 2 results. The STEAME program should shape the education process of the school and the classroom design, not the other way around. So the STEAME need and the activity should tell us how to build schools, not to build schools and then try to do STEAME activities. And you can see that 75% of the teachers agree on this, which is okay, important. The classroom should be purposely designed for STEAME, 85%. So you need to have a classroom that can help you run STEAME activities. We'll see a video very shortly. So what are we doing now? Vision and future. We're going to use these results, run focus groups, discuss it with experts, architects, engineers, etc., to come up with the specifications of a future school. And then we would do some architectural designs to propose a school of the future. So one of the plans that we want to promote is a STEAME school that is like a hexagon, like a bee nest. So imagine each building like this to be one of the sciences, arts, etc. This is a field where students will have their break and have their sandwich, whatever. This would be at the entrance. So we're building a design. This is a top view of a school of the future like this. But let me show you a video of a school in United States of America. It's only 3 minutes. I think we have time, right, Mr. Shah?
Yes, we do.
Okay, and it's a school without classrooms. All right. See what it looks like, what the teachers say, and what the students say. Okay. Enjoy, and I hope the sound is okay. If the sound is not okay, just do this so I can check it again. Okay.
You guys got any ideas for names?
It's Newton's Law Lab.
STEAME is one of our 4 pillars. STEAME is 1/4 of who we are. Project-based learning is 1/4 of who we are. Collaboration is 1/4 of who we are. And interdisciplinary is 1/4 of who we are.
The interaction of those 4 things has really resulted in the environment that we have here. And the decision for that really rested within our community as to what directions to take in terms of the school that they envisioned as being our first standalone high school of choice.
I get to be the capital A in STEAME for art, and it's really amazing how seamlessly art can fit into a STEM curriculum.
What STEAME affords us is the opportunity for students to be very hands-on in their learning. And when we value creativity and innovation and ideation, STEAME allows you to live in those places in your brain.
They don't go to individual courses. All of the courses, through the work of our curriculum writing team under Amy's leadership, they are completely interdisciplinary.
We have to write it in Europe.
So our project right now is we're making a case. So we're right now working on our case file of how we found them. So like if we were actual detectives, what they would have gone through. We're using biological evidence as in blood, saliva, and the DNA within it.
Basically, what we're working on right here is our conspiracy board, which is going to be evidence for one of our suspects. We've been working on exponential growth and decay because we've been talking about Newton's law of cooling, which is used in CSI to figure out about like the time of death and that kind of stuff.
We are making like a little model of the crime scene and what it would look like. So we're working on like the edges and trying to polish it up.
We have to like recreate evidence, and so we design it on the computer, and then we bring it over to these 3D printers and we print them as evidence.
I talked to the facilitators in our meeting. This is the best school experience I've ever had, just because it feels so free. And, like you can do anything that you want to, while still being able to learn. So it makes school like really fun.
I like this more because I can see why I'm learning it, and I can put it into the project, where if I'm just sitting in the classroom learning about something, I'm not going to be as motivated to make sure my work is right.
It's also a lot more hands-on, and I'm more of a tactile learner, so this gets me a chance to see how can I apply what we're learning to real life stuff.
More and more schools are looking at how to provide voice and choice for learners. We're having to compete with a lot of things, and our learners are really our clients. They are our customers, and we're competing with video games, and we're competing with other districts that offer innovative experience. We're competing with online experiences. We are competing with charter schools. We're competing all the time, and we cannot just, rest on our laurels and assume that what we've always done is the best way to keep moving forward.
Just the environment, the working with people to, solve a problem is the best thing ever, really. I love it. The hands-on experience is awesome. It's amazing.
All right, the video was clear, right? All right, what else? Where could students publish their STEAME project work? I already mentioned the journal. So in this journal, you can go to the website I showed to you earlier. I mean, maybe it's open from here, yes. And you can submit, click here for the author template. So there is a template where you can develop your paper with some specifications and submit it online for publication. So we would be happy to receive any such publication from group of students from Nepal. Why not? If you're doing any project, even a simple project that you do, doesn't matter. So here are the specifications of the paper, let's say, that you need to prepare. It doesn't have to be original work. What is original when you work in a project is your cooperation, right? The cooperation between any group of students is always original. What you use as knowledge to produce something, maybe it's known, but the approach and the method you use may be different sometimes. All right, so we would like to know, and people like to know, and people like to get ideas from each other. Huh? So in order to do this, you have to publish. What else? All right, let me go back to the slides. Okay, there is a course for your teachers. In June, actually, in Cyprus, we're organizing the first STEAME course for teachers. There is some co-funding available. What do we mean? We have some European money to help, but not much. I mean, co-funding maybe up to 150 euro for all the expenses. But of course, for someone to come from Nepal, you need to get a flight ticket and accommodation, etc. But if anyone would like to come, because this is in parallel to another, these are the modules for the course. If you or your teacher probably would like to know what is going to be included. So it's how teachers can work together, how to help teachers and students work online, the hybrid environments, because we need hybrid environments nowadays, how to support students in making oral presentations. We have a competition for students, which is called the Math Factor. What is the Math Factor? It's like the X Factor, and this another game that adults are doing on TV. Sometimes they compete on songs or compete on dancing. It's called the X Factor. So we have the Math Factor. So it is a competition between students who can explain mathematics in 3 minutes in front of the jury and in front of public. Right, so we have Math Factor, we have Science Factor, we have mathematics theater competitions, we have science theater. So imagine playing a theater with a mathematics topic, and through the theater you can transfer knowledge, learning, how to write papers for the journal, how to work on projects, how to work on projects with peer questions, how to develop STEAME schools, etc. And it's part of the course. So we have a conference, it's called Euromath and Euroscience. This is running since 2009, by the way, and it says conference for school students, like you. The next one is in Cyprus. Then in 2022, it would be in Greece. But let me show you 60 seconds video on this to see what is happening, showing some of the competitions also between the students. So this is an event that brings about 400, 500 students from 25 countries every year. So let me show you the video. The math is, as you see, most of these activities came out from other projects. I will show you the links at the last slide so you can get everything. So a new event that is going to become an annual is the European STEAME conference, and that's where we have this co-funding available for those who like to participate. And we put this event within the Euromath and Euroscience, as you can see, at the same time. Let's hope that the coronavirus will allow us. We have a plan B for this. The plan B would be for October. So in case we have to postpone this, we will know next month. The event will be moved to October. So here is a European STEAME communication competition. This is like TEDx, is for your teachers to be able to communicate one of the STEAME topic to the audience. Like it's like the math factor I mentioned to you and science factor for you. There is another one, STEAME communication competition for your teachers. But this has to be a physical or online presence. We will see in June what happens. If you want more information, I have a link for you here, but it's also available on the STEAME website I showed to you earlier. There is another competition you may be interested. It's a mathematics journalistic article competition. This is supported by the European Mathematics Society. This is for you to write an article up to 1,000 words. This is for students of age 10 to 19. And the theme for this year is the role of mathematics in STEM education. So we're looking for articles from students. The specifications are written here. You can see the mathematics journalistic article competition. The specifications are here, and you can see what is needed. What else? European comic poster competition. Yeah, this is another competition. You can design your poster, but it has to be a comic, and through the comic to bring knowledge, either in mathematics, science, technology, engineering, and so forth. You can do the comic design as a hand-designed, or it can be a computer design. So this is again another competition. It's open for you as well, and you can find here European comic poster competition, and here are the specifications. And of course, for those who come to the Euromath conference, they can present it. And then we go to the STEAME summer camp. For those interested, we organize a summer camp in the village here of Agros. I have another video to show you. We have time, Mr. Sa? We have time, right?
Yeah, it's flexible.
I show another video. I think the kids may like to see videos. I have a video from last year. I think this is the one. Okay, in the beginning there is no sound, but then there is some sound. It's very short, just to see some pictures here. It's not a full video, it's a picture, and then maybe a short. This is what is happening in a summer camp.
Okay.
Some robotics, some mathematics, some science, some field activities. There's a rose factory in the region that students visit to see what you. It is Greek music, by the way, if you like it. Okay. Visit to the fire station, creating slimes, etc. Okay. Let me show you another one. Where is the other one? One moment. this one.
Lightning fast. Whoa! 21 seconds. Okay, cool.
We have 1, 2, 3, and 4 rows. You have to decide which row is the one that will be played. And this is the count. So you have
Okay, you got a taste of this also. Then we have, the next challenge is a new project that we're starting on 1st May. STEAME goes hybrid, because we designed the STEAME activities to be face-to-face. Now the challenge is, what can we do if we have to do STEAME projects in a hybrid environment? Some students in school, some students at home, or students at home, etc. So we're going to develop what we call a blueprint, guidelines, and policy recommendations. So there is a solution for the cases when students cannot be in school. And this is what this project is going to produce, and it was going to take another 2 years. So after 1 or 2 years, I can tell you more about this, STEAME goes hybrid. Here I give you 4 links to projects. This is a Learn Plus, from which you can get Learn Plus is a platform where teachers can use to play games and learning activities with their students into the platform. The LeMath is what I showed to you with the Math Factor and Math Theater, and you can access, if you go to the guidebooks, you can access the guidebooks for Math Factor, let's say, in 9 different languages, including English, so, or Math Theater, etc. Then the math games, these are games developed to have not only students, but to have adults who would like to develop basic skills in mathematics. So you can have a lot of information about different games from different nations of the world. And there are also graphics that you can print in order to play the games, because these are games that are played in groups. So you need at least 2 people to play a game, right? But these are for table games. You don't need internet, you don't need computers. So after you download them and print them, this is to play on the table. So this may be useful in cases where there is no technology. So you can download materials for games here and intellectual. The materials for games are all these different chess, whatever you need to in order to play the games on table. And of course, you can download the outputs, which are books in many different languages, including English, French, etc., and German. And also there are PowerPoints ready to be used to explain the games to students, and then or to learn yourself from the PowerPoints and be able to play the game. So there is a lot of material. It's open and free. Okay, so these are all projects, and this is a running project Inomath.
Professor, I'm sorry to take your time, but
we are done.
You mentioned earlier about STEAME into hybrid. So what exactly are you incorporating into STEAM to make it hybrid? Could you please explain it a
Well,
little?
the problem is how to help the teachers be able to organize in a group of teachers to organize work with students where some students are in school, some students are home, or all the students are home, but you have to give them a platform so they can work in groups. Like you can use, for example, Zoom to breakout rooms in Zoom, for example, if you want to work in Zoom. But we're going to create a platform where this can be done online in a hybrid environment. So we need a blueprint guidelines for this. So it's a prototype. It's something new, in other words. Then we need a training program for the teachers. So we need to take these STEAME learning and creativity plans and train the teachers how to organize it in a hybrid environment. And then we need to produce policy recommendations and where the authorities, they should know. So in the future, when they build schools, they know how to design them in order to be able to work hybrid. And we're going to create a school label development, a school label meaning that a school which claims to have the ability to support hybrid work, project work of students, can be evaluated and receive a school label. This would be a European school label, like an award. This is what we plan to do. If we knew the answer, we wouldn't need a project. So the European Commission gave us money, about 7 partners, I think, to work in the next 2 years to bring a solution for this. Okay? Any other questions? I'm done with my presentation. I'm open to questions now. Feel free. These are some of the questionnaires we have. And you can subscribe to our newsletter. It's on the website, right? And here, and you can receive more information. Yes, questions? Any questions?
Sure. Thank you, Professor. So, although you already mentioned earlier that education has evolved quite a lot, although there are certainly some rooms of improvement, but education evolved from 60s to 20s, but still in certain subjects, especially mathematics, uh, especially in smaller grade students, there is a fear among certain students in lower grades. Like even they fear from even if you ask them, which teachers do you fear the most? The most probable answer would be the math teacher. Okay, so there is a stigma, right, that they fear math. So how do you address this problem? Like, how do you think
the problem is that
the fear in mathematics can be eliminated?
Yeah, the problem is that we should not teach these subjects, mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, alone anymore. The thing is that we should teach them interdisciplinary, meaning that whatever you teach, whatever mathematics you teach or you bring to the surface, you bring to the knowledge of the student to learn, you have to link it to reality, first of all. Students many times may say, how am I going to use this? How am I going to use this? And when we just giving plain methodologies and techniques, and we test whether you know how to solve this problem, etc., we lose the students. Either we scare them, or they get no meaning. They know this is just an algorithmic technique, or if you ask them, the students do this problem 100 times the same or similar, algorithmic, repeated thinking, you don't help the students. You have to try to bring the interdisciplinary approach in the sense that you have to relate mathematics to other sciences and try to use mathematics in real life or in applications. So in this way, the student is motivated to apply the mathematics knowledge into reality, or to understand why Google works without, because Google cannot work without mathematics, or why, I don't know, the micro, I don't know what technologies you have there, but let's say, you know what is MRI? The MRI which is used in medicine. Well, if you go to the MRI factory in UK, they hire 25 mathematicians. What do? They design these mathematical models behind the MRI, because without mathematical models, which are systems of differential equations, etc., whatever, the MRI will not work. The Mercedes factory in Germany is working with the Malmo University. In Malmo, there is the mathematics group itself, who design what? They design the models behind the robotics who build the cars. Huh? Imagine the robot that is taking a screw and goes and puts the screw on the car in a very, very accurate way. If they miss by one millimeter, the screw would not be entered correctly. So this accuracy can only be accomplished by mathematics. So 40 mathematicians in Malmo University in Sweden preparing models for robots. The machine language behind the robots. So the robots are stupid. Unless you tell them what to do or you program them correctly, they cannot do. So artificial intelligence is becoming very important and is based on mathematical modeling. Some years ago, there was a lecture from a statistician, and the title of the lecture was "Mathematics Saves Lives." What was the story? This is a real story. The doctors, in the past, they use microscopes to see cancerous cells in kids, in order to understand that there is some problem, some cancerous cells, so they can provide medicine. So there was a group of kids, and they were divided into two groups because the medical doctors, through the microscopes, they saw the different cells. So they gave them medicines to help them. In one of the groups, half of the kids didn't survive and they died. And the doctors couldn't explain why this happened? Because they gave the medicine to all the kids, and half of them survived, some of them did not. And but what they saw with their eyes and their measurements they make through microscopes were more or less the same. So they invited this mathematics group from Malmo to help them. So the mathematician says, okay, give us the data from the machine. The data from the machine goes to accuracy sometimes to 20, you can go up to 30 decimal places accuracy. If you analyze it in 30 decimal places, and that's what the mathematicians did, they saw that the one group was actually two groups. So there were differences, statistical differences between the measurements of the kids. So the doctors, because they didn't check accuracy in numbers, they saw it as the same, and they gave the same medicine, which was wrong. But the mathematicians managed to discover the differences because of the accuracy and claim that this was actually a different group and they should have been receiving different medicine. And that's why the presentation was about mathematics saves lives, because mathematics can have the accuracy that you need in order to see differences in very, very small numbers.
Mm.
So when you bring all this into the education, then it becomes more meaningful, it becomes helpful to the students. You motivate them to try to understand and to learn and to apply. This is the idea. And through projects, they see the reality.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. So, so you mentioned that, we should kind of tell students how, whatever they are studying, how they relate to the real life problems. From which grade of students, from which class of students you feel that we should actually make them face real life problems? I mean, in classroom.
I think from grade 5 and above, it should be done.
All right. I had one more query. So uh, so there are two kinds of academical model, like some competitions, mathematical competitions where we encounter problems for the first time, like in mathematical Olympiads or whatever. So, and in real life also, we encounter problems that we haven't encountered up until now. For example, the COVID and similar problems. Unencountered problems are asked in Olympiads. And on the other hand, in schools, we are given problems in the examples, like for example this, and in the example you are told the algorithm, and you just as you mentioned, you are given 100 other problems and you have to solve them in the similar algorithm. So in the actual academic classes, the class 9, 10, and in actual classes, not the competitions, don't you feel that such unencountered problems structure should be imported, like those in the Olympiads?
Yeah, I think if you want to help the students be prepared for Olympiads through the school system, of course, not all students can manage Olympiads, because the Olympiad problems are sometimes even difficult for teachers, not only the students. So not all students really can achieve the level of the Olympiads, because they are very competitive. But and there are non-standard problems or problems which are not really based on formulas, but they are based on way of thinking. So one way to train students for Olympiads is really going back there and try to understand all different problems that appear in Olympiads.
It's not strictly importing the Olympiad problems, but making students encounter the problems, the topics that they haven't encountered up until now. For example, people in the world are encountering COVID. They hadn't prepared for that. So if in the school, if we are just giving examples and make them solve according to the example, how would we expect them to encounter the problems that they weren't given example of? Right. So I'm not talking
but
about
that's what it
problems,
means. That's what it means. Creativity skills. If the students develop creativity skills, you don't have to give them examples for everything, because they can be creative to discover by themselves what to do. So if they learn to work through projects, case studies, analysis, whatever, and they develop the analytical thinking, then they don't need to see examples. It's like word problems. You know what is a word problem, huh?
Yes.
Paragraph. If you work the students with word problems, not equations only, words, story problems, huh? So every word problem is a different story, which means there is no standard problem. And from the word problem, you analyze and make it a mathematical model in order to solve it. So if you want to create creativity skills and analytical skills to students, you need to work with word problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is not done in most educational systems. Then the other axis. So one axis is word problem. The other axis is science communication. I mentioned earlier. When they analyze the problem to make it a mathematical problem, you have to ask them to explain it, to explain the thinking, because only if they can explain it means they understand it well. And you learn something very well when you try to explain it to others. So science or mathematics communication is very important. And the other axis, there are three axes: word problem, science communication, and the third one is try to train them to develop memory. There are many exercises and many activities that they can create. Students can develop good memory. I mean, give them 30 digits to remember, give them stories to remember, to tell you orally. So if you have a good memory and good communication skills, then you can also develop analytical skills through word problems, and then you can attack any problem. You don't have to have an example anymore, because I can see a problem and I have the skill to know what to do, and the competence to solve it, to analyze it, model it, and solve it. This is how you train minds. This is how you train the minds of people. If you give them one example and then you ask them to do 20 similar examples, you don't help
them. Yes. Okay, so there were quite a lot of questions from the Google form as well. We have sorted a few of them so that we could fit, so that we could cover the Q&A session. Let me read them out. We certainly have talked about students a lot till now, ranging from what we have done. Students can be interested in STEAME. Sorry.
Sorry, what is the question? I'm not sure what is the question.
Okay, so let me read that again. We talked about students a lot, ranging from what can be done so that they would be interested to STEAM to qualities a student should have. Um, what about teachers? So the person is trying to ask that we have talked about quite a lot of things, but what qualities should teacher have so that the students should be interested in STEAM?
If you remember, I showed the modules for a course,
Yes,
the STEAM
modules of
course.
course.
That's the purpose of that course, to develop and show the qualities that the teacher should have. And the modules of this course will be soon published on the STEM site. Keep in mind, by May or June, we'll have the modules ready, and the teacher can follow the module by themselves in order to develop the competences they need. Yes, I see the teachers need to develop competences, how to work with other teachers, how to support groups of teachers, etc. They have to know what is project-based work, what is inquiry-based work, what is discovery-based work, and all these things, you know. So this is the purpose of the course we're developing.
Okay, so let me go through the another one. So the question goes like this. If you look back at your career and your life, and if you could suggest one thing to your former self, what before starting teaching, what would that be? You know,
yeah, I don't know. Maybe there are many. You mean as a mathematician, what to suggest to myself?
It could be like any change that you wish you have had when you were younger.
You know what I wish I've got? I wish I have got better teachers.
Okay. That would be the wish of almost everyone.
After many years, I can say the problem, what problem my teachers had, right? Because you always try to copy your teachers, but then you try to be better than your teachers, right? So you remember what your teachers were doing and try to do what you didn't, to improve what you didn't like in your teachers. So what you didn't like my teachers, I try not to copy them and be better. So so I wish I had better teachers. So if I had better teachers, maybe I would have been better myself also today.
Yeah, great answer. Anyone from audience, if you'd like to drop any questions, you can, or you can just unmute to ask them.
Feel free to write to my email anytime, by the way, and in the future, follow the websites I gave you, and we'll be happy to see some of you maybe in some of our events in Europe, if you manage in the future. I know there will be a Euromath Asia to be organized in 2022 in South Korea. I don't know if are you close to South Korea? I don't know.
But we can certainly have virtual events as well.
Yeah. Or you can organize your own
collaboratively with.
Why not? And the activities, yeah.
Is there anyone on the audience, Ruchi, or anyone?
So what I want to ask is, yeah, I see STEAM is more about a realistic approach to a realistic problems, and it's a kind of experimental approach. But whereas Olympiad is more theoretical, it is about a paper problem. STEAM is all about collaborating, working in teams, communicating with other peoples, and solving a problem. But Olympiad is what we do alone, like in a paper, working a few hours in a single problem. It is so much theoretical. STEAM is
it's
about
different.
STEAM is about how we use math, we know, but Olympiad is all about how much more we know. So is there any
Well,
field is helping? Yes,
yeah,
sir.
good question. Good question. Olympiad is not how much you know; it's how well you can think. So, because if you realize for the Olympiads, you don't have to know much. You have to be able to think better than others to be able to solve the problem. So the STEAME will help you develop these skills, these competence, to be able to think better. So maybe you don't do much of mathematics in a STEAME project, but we say that you should be able to have the skill to access knowledge, to access learning, and be able to access the learning, develop the learning, and use it in a project. All this project activity helps you to be creative. And when you are creative, then you will be better in Olympiads also, because what you need in some of these problems is to be creative. Sometimes you read a problem in the Olympiad and you don't know where to start, right? Well, if you have creative skills, you will be able to know where to start. That's the problem. In the mathematics, many Olympiad problems are not of really high level, the mathematics you need to use. Most of them is just how to use the mathematics, you know. So this is how you can relate it to, but the purpose of each one is different. The purpose of STEAME is to help you develop competences and skills that you can use in Olympiads and in many, many other things. But it doesn't prepare you for Olympiads. It gives you the competences that you need in order to prepare yourself for the Olympiads, right? That's the difference. So with the competences, you'll be able to prepare yourself for the Olympiads.
Thank you, sir.
Any more queries from the audience? If not, then we will be concluding the session.
Okay.
Okay, so
I don't know. You have been recording, so yeah, I would be happy to receive a video through weight transfer if you can send it. Thank you.
Yes, sure. We will be doing that by tonight. And in fact, many of our fellows that could join late because of we are having rain right here. So many of us could not join. So we will certainly send it to all the fellows also. In fact, this session was really it was an excellent session for teachers as well. Instead of learning, I could learn how to learn through this session. So I found this session really fruitful, and in fact, we wish to organize the way the modules that Professor Makrides presented. We certainly wish to have such courses, courses based on those modules, implemented and implement in such events, implement such modules in our events organized by MN. So we would certainly be interested in collaboratively doing this with STEAME project or even
why not? Maybe someday I come to Nepal one day. I've never been in Nepal.
Yeah, of course. Maybe you would, of course. And if you could, if you are really busy, you are the president of Thales Foundation and Cyprus Mathematical Society as well. So certainly you would be, in short of time, but so you could always tell other friends to collaboratively do such STEAME related courses or events. So it was really insightful session. I'm sure that many of us in the Zoom session or those who would be watching us through YouTube or recorded video will find this useful. I think that's it for today. Thank you very much, Professor Markets.
Thank you, and good luck to all students for Olympiads or whatever they do. and keep safe from COVID.
Sure.
Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
bye-bye now.
Ruchi,
Bye-bye.
Ruchi, you
Bye-bye.
can end the session, Ruchi.
Bye.